We salute Barbara Harris, who has been commissioned of God to bring sensitivity, understanding, and relief to a deadly concern which is impacting our communities from the urban areas and metropolises to the rural plains. Barbara has founded an organization called CRACK, Children Requiring a Caring Community. This grassroots effort, which considers children being born of addicted or to addicted mothers, rendering them chemically dependent, is spreading its care and concern to many states and cities. And we're proud to announce that CRACK, this organization, which, by the way, is not funded by any government, it's a grassroots organization being funded by regular people like you and myself and private donors. It is spreading itself beyond the West Coast, moving into the Midwest and the East. And we know that we are being impacted by this concern just like they are on the West Coast. CRACK is only one vision, one individual, and group's answer to a call of desperation from those who can help themselves. We know that anytime you step out to do something, many people have many things to say, and most times those individuals that have the most to say are not doing anything but sitting on the sidelines. This epidemic, this concern is like an ocean. CRACK is not the only answer, it's just one answer. There's plenty room in the ocean for those of you that have a concern and an answer or some relief to jump in and to help the situation. But we would like to go on record as a ministry endorsing and saluting and commending Barbara Harris, the founder of CRACK, for being that Samaritan who has stopped on the Damascus Road to bring relief to her neighbors. At this time, I'm going to present our father, Bishop Henry Johnson, who serves on the advisory board of CRACK, to bring these individuals to you who will make their presentation. Put your hands together and receive them.
Thank you, Bishop Ellis. First of all, I want to thank Bishop Ellis and the officers and members of this congregation to allow us the privilege to just introduce to you, first of all, the founders or the founder, along with one of the board members who will be speaking to you concerning CRACK. Now, CRACK is an acronym, as has been mentioned to you already, Children Requiring a Caring Community. Community spelled with a K. I became involved primarily because after hearing from one of the precious members of the church I pastor, Stephanie Sanders, who will be speaking to you. I worked with her as she worked with children that she had adopted who were too fragile to even think they could live. And one of those children, the oldest one now, I think is 9. He runs around the church calling me Bishop, cuddling up. He loves to be loved. But she will tell you about these children. But to see children being cared for, aside from her own children, and this lady have a compassion beyond compare, seemingly, for children who cannot help themselves. Then she introduced me to Barbara, who is the founder of CRACK, who I found having the same kind of compassion. And I met with other members of that board and other people who have contributed. And because of that, I can see it is a ministry that has been mentioned by Bishop Ellis, not just something somebody is doing. Yes, there are those who've criticized it, thinking it is racist, and I never understood where they got that from. However, I found that it is absolutely a human concern, has nothing at all to do with race. Secondly, I found that these people are going after people who nobody wants. Children born and left in the alley. Children who, they will tell you more about that than I can. But when I saw this, I said the least I can do is help them to make a difference in our society. Now think of this. One child Stephanie had, from infancy or from birth to death at age 3, it cost over $4 million, was it? Where is Stephanie? And to multiply that, you would find this would be costing, by the time that child was 18, when the government would turn it loose, it would cost the taxpayers over $30 million for one child. Where does that money come from? Your pockets and mine. Then we complain about taxes being raised when there are over 500,000 2 years ago of these kind of children who need help. So I felt the least I could do is to help spread the news. As a member of the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World Bishop Board and a pastor, local pastor in the state of California, as well as the diocesan of the state of California, I am not speaking for the general parent organization, but for California and for my local church. We will do everything we can to help in this regard. And I'm going to ask at this time that you will receive the founder of this great organization, Barbara Harris, who will be followed by Stephanie Sanders. Barbara.
First, I'd like to thank a few people, and I guess the first would be Mother Johnson, because without her planting the seed, we wouldn't be here. She wanted us here, and it happened, and we're here, and Reverend Thompson has been wonderful. Bishop Ellis is beyond my dream, what you've said and done for us already, and I thank you very much. My husband and I took the first little girl that the bishop mentioned in 1990. She was an 8-month-old baby girl born to a woman who was a drug addict, and she was the 5th baby that was born. She tested positive for crack, PCP, and heroin when she was born. She spent the first 8 months of her life in a foster home, and then they decided they didn't want her anymore, so they asked us if we wanted her. So we brought her home. She had no name yet, and we named her Destiny. We thought it was appropriate. 4 months after we brought Destiny home, we got a phone call from the social worker telling us that the mother had had her 6th baby, a baby boy, and did we want him? So we decided to bring him home because the other 4 children were in 4 different homes, and we wanted them to be together. So we brought Isaiah home as well and watched him suffer like we hadn't watched Destiny suffer. We had to watch him withdraw and watch him suffer from what his mother had done to him. And I became very frustrated. I couldn't believe that we as a caring society allow this to happen, but we do. Every year, these women can drop off a damaged baby at the local hospital, and there's no consequences. They can walk away, and the babies suffer. The following year, we got another phone call saying that the mother had given birth to a baby girl, and did we want her? So my husband said, Barbara, I'm not buying a school bus. And I said, okay, this will be the last one. So we brought Taylor home. The next year, the mother had baby number 8, Brandon. And my husband said, Barbara, we can't keep taking this lady's babies. And my son, Rodney, who's sitting over there, and my other son, and we said, okay, this will be the last one, we promise. So we brought Brandon home, and I thank God the mother didn't have any more because they would be living with us as well. Some people say, you'll hear Stephanie's story about the severe delays and damage that her children have. And some people say, well, not all of these babies have those problems. Some of these babies are fine. And that's true, some of them are. But I just want to share this story with you because it's a bigger picture than most people want to see. It's not just about the fact that these babies are born, it's about what happens to them afterwards. When we got Destiny, they tested her at age 1 and she was delayed in everything. The social worker and the psychologist told me it was because she was a drug baby and she was always going to be delayed. I was mad because that was my baby they were talking about. So I just continued to nurture her the same way I had my birth children, treating her no different. When she was 4 years old, they tested her, and she had a 134 IQ, and she was testing in age 7 and 8 in almost every area. What I want to say to you is that if Destiny had stayed in foster care, being moved from home to home, never being loved, never being believed in, she wouldn't be who she is today. We made these especially for you, and we hope that you'll open them and consider being a foster parent or an adoptive parent, because there's so many kids needing a home. We made this especially for you. I think they're out in the lobby, and if they're not, please track one down and bring home your destiny. It's so important. Our program is here. Pam Cade is the local director. You can reach her through Reverend Thompson at Emmanuel House. We hope you'll get involved. You don't even know what our program does. I've just been blubbering. We pay $200 cash incentive to drug addicts or alcoholics to use long-term birth control. Some say, well, they've said everything, but we've been accused of being racist. I've been spit on. I've been called a racist. This is not about race. To those who call me a racist, I tell them for them to assume that everybody I'm going to come in contact with is black is more racist than I could ever think of being. It's not a black problem. Everybody does drugs. So I hope you'll get involved. There's brochures out in the lobby. You can contact Pam. We'll be leaving town tomorrow morning. We'll be happy to talk to anybody when we're done. And I'm going to let you hear from Stephanie now, and thank you very much.
7 children, 3 that I adopted. My son Zachary could not walk, he couldn't talk, he couldn't stand. He had a ventilator. He had to stay on life support 24 hours a day. He had to have nursing while I worked every day, all because his mother made a personal choice to do drugs. My son Brock, he was 1 pound, 8 ounces, 23-week gestation. He lived for 3 years with his intestines outside of his stomach. He had obstruction of the bowels. My son Zachary finally lost his fight for life at the age of 3. He passed away December of '98. And my daughter Christina was 2 pounds, 3 ounces, and she was born in the alley. And if it had not been for 2 boys passing by on their bicycles, she would have been left in the alley. And now my daughter Christina has cerebral palsy as a result of her mom doing drugs. Her mom has 10 children, and we pay, all of them are in the system. 3 are adopted out, and the rest are in the system. And Crack paid her biological mother $200 to get long-term birth control, and she said that's the most responsible thing that she's ever done. The $200 gets their attention, and when we get their attention, we can do so many things with the women. We can minister to them, we can get them in drug treatment programs, we can do so many things. Nobody has a right to infringe their drug habit on another human being. And so many people are concerned about the reproductive rights of these women, and they're forgetting about the victims. The real victims are the children. Nobody's standing up for the children. Like I said before, these women made a personal choice to do drugs. Nobody put a gun to their head and made them do drugs. This is something that they chose at one time in their life to do. But the kids, they don't have a choice. So we would like for you to get involved and become a foster parent or adoptive parent. You can become a single. A lot of people don't think you can become a single foster parent or a single adoptive parent. I'm a single adoptive parent with 7 children. You can become a foster parent or adoptive parent for some of these children. They call me daily, all the time, asking me to take another kid from the hospital that needs to go into foster care or need to be adopted out. I don't have the room. And not very many people are knocking the door down to adopt these kids. Everybody wants a perfect kid, but we don't have a lot of perfect kids when their mothers are doing drugs. So I compel to you to please get involved with this program, because this program works. We're trying to prevent No more Zacharys forever being born again. Thank you.